This is my final message from Tallahassee as the 2010 legislative session ends. This session was, in a word, horrible. No Floridian was safe. While the unemployment rate reached an all-time high of 12.3%, record foreclosures continued, and millions still lack health insurance, legislative leaders spent time on ideological frolics and a far right-wing agenda that took aim at women's privacy rights, children, public school teachers, working families, and our most vulnerable citizens. SB 6, the so-called teacher tenure bill, will never be forgotten and in many ways will define this session. It was not the product of thoughtful collaboration, but was born directly from a right-wing think tank, laden with conservative ideology, untested theories, and political payback. Floridians should not forget that they had to rise up to be protected from their own legislature. The one responsibility that legislators have is to pass a budget. I voted against it because it fails to meet the critical needs of our state. First and foremost, in a state with one of the worst high school graduation rates and lowest per capita school funding, it fails to fund public education adequately. Further, the most vulnerable among us will feel too much pain due to cuts to nursing home rates, hospitals, and the failure of our budget to meet the needs of our developmentally disabled community. Now, the session had plenty of irony. Republican leaders promoted Attorney General McCollum's politically motivated lawsuit to block federal health care reform, but did nothing to address the nearly 4 million uninsured in our state. They stiff-armed all political corruption measures that might have governed the conduct of public officials, but strong-armed a new constitutional initiative that would gut the Fair Districts Amendment, thus allowing them to continue to draw their own legislative districts. And state workers will receive no pay raise for the 5th straight year, at the same time they gave tax breaks to some of our wealthiest special interests. The final 72 hours of session defined how politically focused Republican leaders were throughout the 60 days. An 11th-hour assault was waged on a woman's right to privacy when a pair of last-minute amendments were placed on an otherwise innocuous insurance bill. Neither amendment had been heard in a single committee, and both were directed at involving the state in the most personal of decisions regarding a woman's right to choose. I urge Governor Christ, once again, to stop the overreach by the Republican legislature and veto HB 1143. It is amazing that the party of less government pressed forward with such wrong-headed and invasive policies. Worse, Republican leaders chose to put politics above policy to address the challenges of the day. I fear that this session, mostly defined by all its reflexive right-wing ideology and callous neglect of those who lack armies of lobbyists, is a harbinger of what is to come unless Floridians force a new direction for our state. Thanks for tuning in. If you excuse me now, I'm going home to hug my wife and kids.